my audio and your audio. It's recording my audio. Hold on. It's not supposed to do that. Record stereo mix. Okay.
Take your
Say
time.
something. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, guess we can just go ahead and get started, see where it takes us.
Sure.
All right. How's it going, YouTube? This is Skull Gold TCG, and I am joined by my good friend and current reigning regionals champion, Treynor Wolfe.
Hi, YouTube.
Treynor's also a writer for Poke Beach, so, and he just won regionals. How long ago was it? Just a few weeks ago?
Like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, you won the Madison Regionals.
Week 2. Yep.
Yeah, live on stream.
Yeah.
So, what kind of deck did you play there?
I played a Yveltal Darkrai deck. So, I essentially played a dark deck.
The kind that's been around for 5 years.
Yeah, the one that's never gone away.
Yeah.
Ever since Dark Explorers. So, it's just constantly evolved.
Yeah. Now, you do have your invite for the Pokemon World Championships.
Yeah, I was sitting at 334 points. And for everybody that doesn't know, the cutoff is 300 points. So before that, I keep playing because travel stipends exist in Pokemon TCG, where the top 100 in the U.S. will get travel money, and I really rely on that to be able to afford to go to Worlds. So I kept playing, and I didn't really expect to win, but I won. So
you did win.
Yep.
Now here's the thing: the exact deck that you played there at regionals, you won't be able to play at Worlds because, of course, regionals was the expanded format, which is black and white and on, and nationals and Worlds are the only two tournaments of the year where it's standard, which is X and Y on. And we just had this news drop today that the next set, Steam Siege, which is releasing, which is releasing on August 3rd, will be legal to play at the Pokemon World Championships, which take place just 2 weeks after the set is released.
yeah. I didn't really. I don't know how I would I didn't know. I'm really I don't really look that far in advance when it comes to Pokemon.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that are just it's regional season. I know so many people that were testing for nationals when I was getting ready for regionals. Yeah, they were going to regionals too. It's just that I am so I'm the kind of person that only really worries about the immediate future. So I'll worry about the next tournament, and then I don't even care at all beyond that. But when I heard about the Steam Siege thing, I haven't really put too much thought into it, but I do have some ideas about it.
Well, there is the problem that we just don't know what all's going to be in that set yet.
True.
I mean, it releases in Japan in a week or two from now.
Yeah.
Then we'll have a fairly good idea.
Yeah, we'll have a pretty good idea then.
Yeah.
Right now, I think it's a huge difference, but I actually really welcome the change, simply because every Worlds format in the past has always just been a repeat of Nationals. It's a little bit different because people respond to the Nationals results. But with Steam Siege being legal, it's going to be a new, fresh tournament. Now, I'm not a very creative person. I don't really come up with cool rogue decks or anything like that. That's never been the kind of player that I was. I wish I could, but I've just never been that way. So Nationals is a little challenging sometimes for me because
there are so many rogue decks.
Yeah, it's a new format. It's brand new. This is going to be the first format where Fates Collide is legal and standard. And I've gotten better over the years of being able to predict things like that, but I can never really predict a deck like Wailord or Hippowdon like last year.
Yeah,
it did well. Yeah.
That was just so grab a pillow. We're going to be here a while.
Yeah, I just can never. I never see those things coming. I always I typically play a very safe thing to play that'll probably get me to day 2. but then it's a kind of a toss up from there.
Yeah.
That's always been me. So that's why, like, I think Worlds is going to be more challenging this year, but I'm not entirely opposed to the change. Like, it's going to be more challenging, but I think we're going to have about almost a month to prepare. And I've seen a lot of players get really, like, upset. Like, I've already had some players, like, talk to me saying, like, oh man, this is so much more advantageous to the Japanese because they've been playing with this set way before us. But, like, I don't know, like, as a competitive TCG player, like, you have to adapt to changes like that. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Like, every time a new set comes out, you have to prepare for that set. And
yeah,
this is no different. This is no different than testing for nationals. And to be honest, I don't think, from what I'm seeing so far, I don't think Steam Siege has anything too, like, game breaking. Like, I saw Karen.
Yeah.
Which, of course, you're going to see a format where Night March is almost going to be non-existent, in my opinion. Because that Karen card just completely screws it. Like, it's not even, like... Lysander's Trump card would set Night March back maybe one turn. Because you would shuffle back in their battle compressors and their ultra balls and all their resources they would use to discard. But with Karen, you don't do that. So you play one Karen, and it's pretty much the game. They're not going to be able to hit 180 ever again.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah, and Night March is one of, if not the biggest decks right now, between that and Vespiquen.
Mm-hmm. Well, so Night March right now is the best deck in format. But Greninja with N being released, I think that is slowly shifting to Greninja, just from what I've been testing, because Greninja's just been so, like, if you could get a very consistent build for it, it's just unstoppable. Like, just because it doesn't play any EXs, it just does so much damage early. Like, it plays a really good, slow, long game, and like what made Greninja not really playable at States, even though it has done remote, like, somewhat well, is because you're kind of forced to play, like, these awful draw cards like Birch or Shauna. But now you have N. So
the N is back.
4 Ns, like,
they just don't want that card to die.
Yeah. So you shuffle draw early for 6 or 5, or for even 4, and then late game you drop your opponent down to, like, 1 or 2 cards left. You know, shuffle your hand and draw as many prize cards. You have prize cards left. That helps Greninja get back, because Greninja usually has a slow start, but has an incredible mid to late game.
Yeah. Now, going back to Karen, I remember when it came out and I was browsing the comments on PokeBeach, the biggest complaint was that it was coming out and it wouldn't even be legal until Night March was basically rotated out of Standard anyway. Yep. I mean, we don't know what the rotation will be yet, but it's safe to assume that Phantom Forces...
I think it's very safe to assume it'll probably be Primal Clash on.
Yeah, I think that's a safe assumption. If Phantom Forces is there, I would be surprised.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be there, because I think that they're gonna want to get rid of Battle Compressor.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that they really, to be honest, I don't think they really consider game balance when they do rotations.
No, I mean, Phantom Forces is probably one of the most broken sets ever released.
It's pretty good.
Between releasing all the Night Marchers and Battle Compressor and VS Seeker and Lysander's Trump card.
Yep. And
that's pretty much the deck right there.
We're going to be keeping Verse Seeker because it was reprinted as a shiny in Roaring Skies.
Yeah.
And we're going to be losing Battle Compressor, which is really going to change this game.
Definitely.
I'm not even really looking at Standard next year, but, like, I could only really think about it being really good for decks like Rayquaza and other decks that, like, had horrible Night March matchups.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good thing for the game when Night March is gone, and I think we're going to have a really interesting World Championships this year.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's going to be a standard set, but this will basically be the only tournament ever to use this exact format, where we have the XY sets, base set through Steam Siege and nothing else. So
you got to keep in mind too that Trevenant is going to be rotated out next year too, because XY Trevenant's gone. So your big three right now for coming up to nationals, if any of your viewers are competitive TCG players that are going to nationals, your big three is going to be Trevenant, Greninja, Night March. Those are your 3 decks. Those are going to be the most popular decks at Nationals. Mark my words. Like,
Yeah.
those are like Greninjas have already spiked up to $30 a piece on TCG Player. Trevenants are going up to like Night March has always been. Night March was the deck to play at States, and it's no different. Even with N, like it's still going to be incredibly good. So
yeah. So at Nationals, it'll be basically those 3 decks.
Yeah.
But then you get to Worlds, and the only difference is the addition of a few cards, and all of a sudden you're looking at a completely different ballpark.
Yeah, Karen is enough to like completely invalidate Night March. Now, I don't,
100%. You run one in your deck, you win against Night March.
Greninja decks will be playing that one Karen at least, just because it also.
I'm sure most decks would, just because there might be that oddball who's like, everyone's going to worry about Karen, so no one's going to be playing Night March, which means that no one's going to run Karen because they don't have to worry about Night March, and that guy will play Night March.
Yeah, that'll happen sometimes. I'm trying to think
reverse psychology.
I'm trying to think of. There's been cards like that before in the past, and I'm trying to think of them off the top of my head.
Well, I'd like to say we had a somewhat of a similar situation back. I'd like to say 2011 when Tropical Beach was first printed.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone saw it's like, this card's stupid, and then someone made a good deck around. It's like, oh my goodness, this is an amazing card, and it shot from $10 to $200 overnight.
Yeah,
basically.
there's actually another one. Like I'm just trying to think of it. Like it's a card that came out that everyone was like, this will invalidate X deck, and then people continue to play that deck. I think it was Trump Card, and people were like, Night March might be pretty good, but then it always.
As I seem to recall, Night Marchers were the ones who put that in their deck because it actually helped them more than it hurt them.
Yeah, but like people would always like. I think Night March always stayed on the shelf for people because Trump Card existed. And
yeah, I think so.
I think it was actually Pyro or something like that. I think it was Pyro. Like people were like not playing.
Oh yeah,
decks.
Pyro.
People were not playing decks that were all basics because like, or no, people ended up doing it anyway because they're just like, there's not going to be any Pyro at Nationals, and like sure enough, it made it to the,
I think it was
in 2014.
I think it was Prim. Michael Prim.
Yeah, it was Prim. And unfortunately for him, he was facing a deck that had a Raichu in it.
Right.
In the finals, but
so
I think that there's probably another better one. I can't think of it right now.
Oh, there probably is.
There always is.
At least that's a recent one that most people might remember.
Yeah, but there's always going to be people. There's still going to be people playing Night March at Worlds. Like people are going to be like, nobody's going to like. People are going to be like, well, Karen exists. That alone, like existing, is enough to like deter people from playing Night March. So I'm not even going to bother putting it in my deck because I don't want to take the space for it. But like I think certain decks like Greninja will really use that card, not just in the Night March matchup, but in every matchup because they have to recycle their Pokemon so much.
Yeah.
I don't know if Trevenant's going to really use it, but I honestly think that Karen just existing, honestly think it really will deter like instead of having like a third of your field being Night March like it states, it's probably only going to be about like maybe 5 or 6%. Like it's gonna be so little, and I think with Karen, that's such a risky play. Night March is, and right now Night March, like I think at Nationals, I think you might see maybe one Night March make top 8, not very many, because I think the N really makes Night March not nearly as dominant as it was before.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to that complaint that the Japanese might have an unfair advantage because they get this set in a week, and we don't get it until 2 weeks before Worlds. I'll point out that Garchomp Altaria was a huge deck over there, and then when it got over here and we started playing it, we realized very quickly that it wasn't it wasn't as good as we were led to believe. So who knows? Whatever is big over there right away might not be big over here.
The Japanese have always had a very weird way of doing things.
Well, very different.
Yeah, I'd honestly say it's kind of odd. They don't really play. If you look at their results over the last 3 years, they don't really play very many walk decks. Like Japanese players, like tend to play more aggressive decks that do a lot of damage quickly. I always say that. Like I always see that Mega Rayquaza is the Japanese deck because it just does so much damage early, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just how they like to play. Right,
and it is a very powerful deck.
Yeah, and they like to play games quickly. You know, they want they want to finish games quickly, like they want to win quickly. It's totally cool. That's totally how I play too, and I totally respect them for that. But they always play some things really different over there, and them getting Steam Siege, not really going to make that big of a difference to me, because after Nationals, we're going to know what's in Steam Siege, and we're going to, like, competitive players for Worlds, those are the only ones that are going to be going to Worlds, are competitive players, of course.
Right.
They're going to be printing off proxies, and they're going to be playing these cards. The only hard part is getting the cards that you need within the 2-week time period, which is not going to be hard, because I know like 2 or 3 people I could borrow cards from if I really need to. Like,
yeah, exactly. That was my initial reaction was 2 weeks between set release and Worlds. How is everyone going to get the cards that they'll need? But if you're a competitive player, you'll know.
You'll
know how to get the cards
somehow.
Yeah.
Even if I have to order them.
Yeah.
But I don't think, like, from what I'm seeing from Steam Siege so far, there's nothing that's really overly game changing except for Karen.
Yeah, Karen's it, and really, when it comes down to it, that's basically printed just to kill Night March.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, even in Fates Collide, like, I don't really see much in that set that's going to change things.
Yeah, I mean,
there might be something
that's been out for what, a month, a little more than a month, and there's not really much in there that altered the game that drastically from what I saw.
Except for N.
Except for N.
That's a reprint.
Yeah, that's been around since 2011.
Yeah,
so
we're already used to having N.
Yeah.
Regirock might be interesting with Zygarde. I haven't really tested that. I don't know if I ever will. But
well,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that has a poor Trevenant matchup, and I don't want to have that going into Nationals.
Yeah. There is one other comment, and this actually comes from the comments. Somebody posted a comment on my videos saying that they feel like this gives players who get a pass to day 2 an unfair advantage, because then they'll see day 1 and they'll see, okay, these are all the most popular decks. These are the cards that we see are working in Steam Siege, and these that aren't. So I guess I'll just bring these to day 2 because that'll be a whole lot better.
See, that's no different than last year, in my opinion, because people. Okay, so let's look at last year. So my good friend Steve Guthrie makes top 16 with Keldeo Blastoise at Nationals. Going into Worlds, we test and we get ready for that format for Worlds, and we know that Keldeo Blastoise is a legitimate. So if you're day 2 Worlds and you're skipping day 1, you're going to be watching out to see how popular that deck really is, because that deck is kind of under the radar. Also, we were testing Hippowdon too for Worlds, because that made top 8.
Yeah.
And if you're a day 2 Worlds competitor outright, you're going to be watching out for that Hippowdon deck too, and you're going to see how popular it is. So it's always an advantage to just skip day 1, because you can see that meta.
It is an advantage, but it's not like you're just getting the day off. If you are competitive, if you really want to win that title, you'll be there all day looking at the decks, analyzing what's being used. You'll be hanging out too, obviously. You're not just going to go to Worlds and sleep the whole day.
I mean,
part
of the advantage of getting a day 1 buy is the fact that you could watch and see, like, what did well day 1. You know, like, that's just part of the advantage. And I have no problem with the fact that they have that advantage. Like, if you make top 16 in North America, you honestly deserve it. Like, if that's what Pokemon wants for you to have, then have it. You know.
Yeah.
Like,
if you win your way to Worlds and you win enough to skip the first day, then you've earned a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, you should totally have that advantage, because you should totally be able to go into day 2, skip day 1, and, you know, have kind of a like a little bit of like being able to predict day 2 after seeing day 1 results.
Yeah.
It's still going to be a difficult tournament, because everybody that makes day 2 can change their decks as well.
Right.
I don't think if I remember that, but
if I remember right, though, last year the winner did not change his deck.
No.
Between the days, and that made it all the more impressive that he won.
Yeah. See, I don't think that he really needed to, because Keldeo Blastoise was such a good play.
Yes, it was.
I'm kicking myself because last year I played Raichu Bats, and I really should have played Night March.
Yeah, if I had played, I would have done Toad Bats, but...
Yeah, Toad Bats is a solid play too. I think 2 night marches made top 8 at Worlds. It was the German guy.
I remember at the end of the first day there was a Night March mirror match. It was the one that was being streamed, and I think they went to time, and then the 3 turns after that took another 10 minutes each turn. I think. So the less I see a Night March, the better. Because you'd think with how explosive they are at the beginning, it'd just be 2 or 3 quick matches and that's it. But
no, it isn't.
No, it's not.
At regionals, I played. At regionals, I played the Dark Mirror, and that's not a very fast game. But I played game 1, and this happened on 2 separate occasions. I played game 1, and it was a long game. It was a 30-minute game. And then game 2, I got Getsist my opponent to nothing. And then it went over quickly. And then game 3, it was another long game.
Yeah.
And at Kansas States, I played against my friend Michael Hopkins, and we were playing the Night March Mirror. Game 1 was a very back and forth, 25-minute game that he won. Game 2 was about the same thing, but I won it, and then we got done halfway through game 3. If you have a very two-sided, engaging, strategic game between 2 very good players, the game will probably go to a tie if someone wins game 1 and the other person wins game 2.
Yeah, and that's not because people just take forever to call their moves.
Yeah.
I mean, you take your time, obviously. You want to make the right decision, but usually it's just you do so much during your turn.
And there's so many decisions you have to make.
There are.
In close games. So close games tend to take about half an hour. And if you have 2 close games, that's already all your time already.
Yeah, exactly.
And plus, most of the people that I play don't slow play. I can catch slow playing when I see it, and I definitely don't. I try to make as many moves as I can.
As someone who has played against you several times, I agree. You're not like that.
Yeah, I normally watch my opponent, and then I think about what I'm going to do, and then I just do.
Yeah.
It's only really when I'm really putting my brain to it, the odds. If I do a certain play, if I want to be risky or conservative, that's the only time I really slow down and I have to really think. But usually I'm pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I normally play pretty quick decks. I'm not really a disruption kind of guy.
Yeah. So, Steam Siege at Worlds. In conclusion, we do have some concerns, but we've addressed those, and those can easily be dismissed.
Yeah, I agree.
Personally, I'm excited because, like I said earlier, this is going to be the only tournament where we'll ever see this specific format of XY through Steam Siege. I'm looking forward to seeing all the strategies that people can come up with. Maybe we'll see a few rogue decks that climb to the top, something that we never would have seen otherwise. I
think it makes for more exciting Worlds because Worlds has always been just a repeat of Nationals. It's always been it's a more developed meta. It's more people have been testing it more. You watch how metas evolve, at States or something like that, and you watch what people play week 1 and compare it to week 4. You could just look at the Greninja lists and week 1 and compare them to week 4. They're completely different. Yeah. And so at Worlds, you're gonna have it's always been a different metagame. It's always been more developed, but this year it's going to be brand new and fresh.
Yeah, this year you won't have previous tournaments to look back on and say this works and this doesn't. You're going to have to... This really will, I think, determine who the best players are.
Yeah.
Those who can make their deck just by looking at their Pokemon cards and say, I think this is best. With no guarantee that it'll work.
Yeah. See, this isn't always... I don't think this is the case every year if they do this. They're going to be doing this probably next year too.
Yeah,
because
maybe.
It's always case by case basis, in my opinion. Because this Steam Siege, I don't think really does too much to change the game, except it completely it actually does quite a bit because it invalidates probably one of the biggest decks right now. It invalidates the biggest, one of the top 3.
Yeah, but one of the biggest that we've probably ever had.
But you and me already know that right now. So we know that Night March was probably not going to be played very much. So I'm going to test going forward, knowing that Night March is probably not going to be played that much. And I could probably play more risky decks right now that like had historically bad Night March matchups, like Rayquaza or something like that. Because I could either play Karen in those decks, or I could just play assuming I'm not going to play any Night March if I want to be more risky. So honestly, I think it's a good thing. We're going to see more of what Steam Siege has in it coming forward. So
yeah, I'm praying for a Helioptile card.
Yeah, another one.
We haven't had one since Phantom Forces. I'm depressed.
I was actually pretty happy to see a Gengar card show up in what set was that again?
Oh man, what was it? Oh, I know it was reprinted in Generations.
Yeah, I was kind of happy to see that, but I wasn't really like impressed by it. I guess there's Gengar EX too. But before that, we haven't seen a Gengar card come out until like Stormfront.
Yeah.
Like Arceus, I think it was. No, Heart Gold. I'm stupid.
Just make up your mind. It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, anyway, Nationals is in a month, so good luck with that, and Good luck with Worlds as well. I'll see you there.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
All right. That pretty much does it for this video. Thanks everyone for watching, and stay tuned for more.